I'd already brought him a few deals, a few $100,000 he's already made, and I went and talked to him. I told him, hey, blank, I'm not gonna say his name. Do you think that sooner or later I can also buy my own flip to make more money? Would you be willing to help me? He said, no problem, David. You bring me 5 more flips, and the 6th, I'm gonna fund you.
Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of Overcoming the Odds, and we have a very special guest, Mr. David Albanese. David, thanks for showing up today.
Yeah, no problem, guys.
David is multiple things. He is a serial entrepreneur, a father, a business owner, investor, and we're going to go into all of that. But before we do, I want to give you guys a little bit more background on him, let him share his story of things he had to overcome to get here. People see the businesses going, the money coming in, the toys, the success, everything, but they just assume that, maybe sometimes it was handed to them or, it was easy. And I want to go a little bit along that journey, David, of getting to where you got. So let's start where you were born, where you grew up, and a little bit of childhood and get into where you're at now.
Yeah, sure. I was born in East Los Angeles, out here in Southern California, and I grew up in the Maravilla housing projects in East Los Angeles, and spent several years there before my mom fled and took us away and moved away to Washington State for about a year.
When you say took us away, this is who? You, your mom?
My mom and a couple of my siblings, because it was a tough area, a tough situation, where my other siblings were already at that age. They were in their teens and they were already getting into a lot of trouble. My sisters were having kids at 14, 15 years old. My brother was involved in a lot of other different things with the local neighborhood. And it got to the point where my mom was trying to save us, literally.
Yeah. And you're the youngest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally, she was trying to save us, and she didn't know what to do, where to go, where to find help, where to seek any more assistance. So she had a distant second cousin in, and actually we didn't go to Washington first, in Idaho, in Boise.
Okay.
And we ended up going out there initially for a couple of months with one of her second cousins, but that didn't last too long because in Spanish there's a saying that cuando eres arrimado empiezas a apestar al tercer día. It says when you go and live with somebody, or when you go and you're not technically family or from there necessarily, you start stinking after a couple days. What does that mean for this situation? Everybody started having issues, right? We started having issues.
Kind of overstayed the welcome.
Yeah, we overstayed the welcome, is what it was. And we were there for a couple of months, and she met somebody that was talking about Washington State, Sunnyside, Washington, and told her it was good. There was a lot of work out there. So we got on the road. We got on the road and hit Sunnyside, Washington, and we're there for about a year. We were there for about a year. My mom was working in the asparagus fields. I went to school, was helping her out in the time we had off. But
how old were you when you guys moved to Washington?
Shoot, I was still pretty young. I was 10 or 11.
And so you're going to school, and you said you're going to help your mom after school?
Yeah. I was in I learned how to pick asparagus or cut asparagus, however you want to phrase it, because it's a big crop out there in Washington, that and apples, but she was in the asparagus fields. So I actually learned how to grab it and cut it with a knife and bundle it and put it in the boxes, right?
Okay.
So we did that, and it got a little old after about a year. Got a little lonely. My mom wanted to come back and support my sisters and my other siblings that were still out here in California. Wanted to be closer because they now had kids and they needed help. And she thought she might have done enough to get me out of that environment, temporarily at least, myself and a couple of my other siblings. And she had a second cousin who had a cousin that was from a small city called Oxnard
Okay.
out here in California, which is where I live now. And before we left Sunnyside, Washington, my mom ended up saving enough money to buy a 1972 C10 long bed, primered dark red brown, and enough money to buy a $500 camper shell
Okay.
for it. Loaded up the camper shell in the truck, loaded the truck with gas, and we headed to Oxnard, California. Took us a couple days to drive down here. My mom was under the impression that there was room for us at this house with the cousin of the cousin, or they would at least help us temporarily, maybe for a few weeks, a month or two. We quickly realized the same day we arrived that that was not the case. So we ended up sleeping for a few months at Kamala Park, a park here locally in Oxnard. So we would
In the camper.
yeah, in the camper.
And there's how many of you sleeping in the camper?
There was 4 of us at the time.
You, your mom, and 2 siblings.
Actually 5 of us, me, my mom, 2 siblings. And by that time, I had a niece, my sister's daughter, that was also
Okay.
on and off with us at that point.
Okay.
So there was a few of us. So we were outside a park for a while.
Okay.
You know, we were outside a park for a while. We slept in the truck, and then she enrolled us in school, and I started going to school out here in Ventura County in Oxnard.
Okay.
And that was kind of the initial journey that led us to Ventura County.
So what was your mindset like being, 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, seeing what you saw, going what you went through, you said growing up in the projects, seeing your siblings, do certain things, your mom removing you from that situation. What's your whole mindset as a child? Like, what are you thinking, life is like?
Shoot, I'll share with you guys a couple things that maybe a lot of people don't know of things that I went through with my family. First off, 4th of July was literally fireworks. When I mean fireworks, I don't mean the ones you light up and go in the air. I mean the ones that you pull out of your holster and you shoot in the air, or you shoot at somebody.
Right.
Literally, that's what 4th of July consisted of in the housing complex. The local homies, the local gang members, that's what they did, and those were some of the people that my brother was hanging with, and my sisters, and the cousins, and all that stuff. And 4th of July, I remember clearly, we would hide and duck inside the house because there was gunshots going off all night. They were shooting out the big lampposts, the street lampposts. They were shooting them out and messing around. It was a very dangerous situation. One of my sisters, my niece's father, he was gunned down in the middle of the road, a block away from where we lived, and he ended up passing. My sister's going through different issues at young ages, having kids and having a partner or a boyfriend and having those issues, and the local gang members, and my brother wanting to get involved, and myself, and my mom trying to keep everybody sane and keep everybody together and keep everything still going.
Right.
It was tough for me, so I could only imagine for my other siblings and my mom and the cousins that live nearby, and everybody else that lived in the same community. So
let me ask you this: not having your father around and growing up in this community where you see, your brother or other relatives maybe, or just, the local people in the neighborhood, involved in these activities, gang related stuff, was this attractive to you as a child, or what were your thoughts like?
Yeah, extremely attractive. It was something that I don't think I aspired to be or to do, but it was you eat bad, you look bad, right? You hang around 3 people that are a certain way, and I was just in that environment, so it sticks sometimes, and it becomes part of you, because that's what you see, that's what you learn, that's what you're around every day. So I think I don't think I aspired to do anything bad or to live that life or whatnot, but I think it was immediately everywhere around me. So I think that it was just a norm, like part of life. The struggles seemed kind of normal at the time, I guess. They didn't seem like they were struggles. It just seemed like that was part of our daily routine of the different things that people went through. I didn't know any better, at the time. So I think that I didn't aspire to be or to live that life, but we were already around it. So it was something that was the norm.
Okay, gotcha. So you get out of that situation, you get to Ventura County. Fast forward nowadays, you have sold multiple businesses, from software, bars, restaurants, construction, real estate, lending, mortgage. You've done a lot of different businesses. You have a large real estate holding. You do a lot of fix and flips. You have a large construction company, different businesses. How, what does a process look going from A to Z, where most people think that the first business they ever do, this is like, oh, this is what I'm gonna do forever. I got this restaurant, I got this bar, I got this liquor store, and this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. You've owned multiple, started, sold. What was the first one you ever did? How did you get involved? And let's talk a little bit about the journey of the different businesses you've owned and done.
It's a big misconception, right? And a lot of people think that, when you see somebody on the streets and they seem to be doing well, or they are doing well, you sometimes think, oh, that guy was lucky. He started PayPal when that was a big need in the market, and he just got lucky, and PayPal blew up, and he was able to sell it for, a crazy amount of money, right? And a lot of you guys know, but I'm talking about Elon. And he grew up in a very humble household initially, and he started PayPal. And if you read a little bit more about his story, I think they said that was like his 5th or his 10th company he had started. It wasn't his first company. And he had tried several things before. And it doesn't matter if you tried one thing before, or 10 or 20. It's a matter of being consistent and continuing to do it. So I have people all the time that either come up to me, or I talk to, or I meet, and they're like, oh my goodness, you're so lucky. You're doing pretty well, or you have a great family, or all the different things that equate to success, because a lot of people at the end of the day equate success as monetarily. And I think that success has a lot of different things to it. And one of the biggest things is your foundation, your home, your family, your kids, your spouse, your parents, your siblings. All those different things are a part of somebody being successful, because I think success at the end of the day is being happy, being financially secure, and being filled inside. And being filled inside doesn't happen necessarily with money. It doesn't happen necessarily with having a successful business that has tons of employees. It really a combination of everything together equals success at the end of the day.
Yeah, let's touch on that, because I know, but for people who might not know, whether you did directly or indirectly assisted, you've bought your mom a house, retired your mom, you take care of your family, you give your family jobs, employment, you help them buy houses. Your kids, you put them in all kinds of different activities, even if after the first day they don't like it. Yep. You encourage them to try new things. And I'm guessing that's probably more fulfillment than having a nice boat or a nice truck or a nice car or a nice vacation. It's the experiences and the fulfillment.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
First thing that popped into my head, and that's why I smiled, was I think one of the most fulfilling moments that I've had in my life in general was my daughter struggling their first year in soccer, or starting out soccer. She was really interested in doing it, and seeing her reaction, her face after making her very first goal. I think that was one of the most fulfilling moments I've had, and that was recently, only a few weeks ago. So for me, that is success, right?
Yeah.
Everything else that you're able to build and do, they're all a part of it, but I felt successful that day. I felt accomplished that day. I could only imagine how she felt, and I could tell based on her reaction.
Right.
Based on what she's doing. And people react different ways. Like my daughter reacted like smiling, but being still trying to be modest. And I know how excited she was, and it's the same thing in life, right? There's a lot of people that show their success and flaunt their success. And there's a lot of people that are successful in their own way
Yeah.
and do their own thing. Some guys want a Lambo and another guy just wants a truck. Some guys want to have a big yacht and another guy just wants to take their family on a nice vacation and enjoy the time that they spend with them. It just really depends. Some guy wants to wear a designer shirt and another guy just wants a simple black button-up t-shirt or a button-up dress shirt. Like there's so many different things that equate to success that's very, very difficult. But that time with my daughter and her very first goal, to me, truly meant I was even successful as a parent.
Yeah, I agree with that. There, one point to make on that is, to her, I'm sure that probably meant the world. Like, mom and dad were there to watch me score my first goal. Whereas, I've had friends where, I have conversations with them like, hey, what's one memory as a child that, makes you really happy? And, they're like, oh, the time I scored my first goal. And then they always have a but my dad was working, so he wasn't able to be there and watch it,
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool that everything you do, all the businesses you own and everything you do in your life, you're able to, and you prioritize still making time for your children and their activities, no matter what's going on, and business always comes second to family.
Yeah. One of the things that I can really truly say that I think I did a good job without knowing that I was doing a good job was always kind of setting my work-life schedule up, and I worked from X time to X time, and then
What are those times?
It really depended. When I first started, I've always been an early bird, so for me it's 5-6 in the morning till 4 or 5 o'clock, because after that time it was family time, it was dinner time, right? Those are all like dinner time is super important in our household, where we all try to eat together, or we all try to be in the same room together. At least we all try to have small talk, something, laugh at each other, talk about a couple different things, even if it's just for 15-20 minutes. But that time is important, whether you're eating or you're not. I'm saying come to the dining room, or at least come to the living room, because the living room is next to the dining room. Like, I want everybody to be in the same room. At least we need to be together. We need that. It's super important. So in the very beginning, I did work the weekends, and I did, but I also had time frames. Like, I was only going to work 4 hours. So I was only going to work 3 hours, so that I can separate that and have time for myself, time for my spouse, time for the family, all that good stuff. Nowadays it changed even more, because there's the kids have different schedules, so it's almost around their schedules. It's around the activities that they're doing. It's around their school schedule. It's around the different sports that they're playing, the different practices that they're doing, all that good stuff. So it really depends, but I would suggest that you set up your schedule, and it's not 24/7 work, even though us entrepreneurs do work mentally 24/7, but you also have to take your breaks and separate your time. And I'm not good at time blocking, but setting apart certain priorities and knowing that, hey, after this time I'm not available, or whatever it may be. So that's very important. That's one of the things that I did since the very beginning, and I continue to do so. So it's something that I always tell people that they should start doing immediately.
I like that. I agree with it. Let's talk a little bit about some business, which you've had a lot of experience in. You've had bars, restaurants. You run a construction company right now that does probably close to 8 figures a year, plus or minus, in gross revenue. You've been involved in the cannabis space. Let's talk about the different liquor stores, everything. Let's talk about some of the first businesses that you started. What, after high school, you graduate. What got you into the business entrepreneur space?
I have always had businesses since I was 12, 13 years old. So to me, I think my journey really starts at a really young age. I think one of the very first businesses, I'm going to call it official, first business, was selling ices.
Okay.
I think I saved like 15 or 18 bucks, and I bought one of the little ice machines that shredded ice. And
I don't think a lot of people watching this, maybe like millennials or something, know what
they
the
probably don't
ices
know
were.
what that is. Right? Okay, so little machine where you put some ice cubes in there and you shred it, and comes out the bottom. You put it in a cup and you put some flavor in there, right? Some fruit punch or whatever different flavors that you can make or buy. And I was selling those on just on the sidewalk of our neighborhood, selling them for like 50 cents, 75 cents. And I remember one of the first times with some of the neighborhood kids, we made enough to buy pizza and soda. It was Little Caesars. We bought pizza, we bought crazy bread, we bought some sodas, and we watched a movie.
Okay.
And that was the day's earnings went to that. So for us at the time, the earnings that I made or we made went to that initially, and then it started to, the earnings started to get a little bit greater. The businesses started to evolve, and now I was able to make more money to start helping out my mom, maybe buy things that I knew that we needed or she needed for the household, and maybe we didn't have it at the time, and I would show up with it, trying to help in my own specific ways, even though my mom always had the outcome. How did you buy this? What did you do? Because she didn't know everything that I necessarily did to hustle and to make money. At one point, I went to a local ice cream shop that sold wholesale ice cream to the ice cream guys, all the ice cream guys that had the little vans that drove around. I don't know if you remember those. The millennials might not remember those because they don't exist too much no more, because gas is so expensive, so it doesn't work for them these days. But they would rent ice cream carts for $35 a day. They would fill you up with ice cream, and at the end of the day, they would take inventory and you would split the profits.
Okay.
And I did that many times.
Pushing an ice cream cart?
Pushing an ice cream cart.
How old were you?
13?
13?
14?
Okay. It's like after school walking around the neighborhood?
For sure. 100%.
Okay.
100%. Weekends, Saturday, Sunday, in the evenings.
Summers?
Summers, correct. I did it a lot. I did it probably for a couple years until my business evolved again.
How much were you making per day roughly, like back then?
I remember that one of my best days, I think, was like $150 or $160 that I sold. And then I had paid $35 to rent the cart, and then I had to split 50-50 with the place that filled me up or gave me the inventory. So it was a cost of doing business, and I think I brought home like $50 or $60 that one day. And I think I was out for maybe like, I wasn't out 8 or 10 hours, but I think I was out like 4 or 6 hours.
Okay. Which today would be equivalent of like $300-400 probably.
Probably a couple $100, $200-300 is what my assumption would be at that point. And at the same time with the ice cream cart, it started evolving because as I was walking around, people were asking me for other stuff. Okay. They were asking me for other stuff, and from chips to if I had waters or sodas or other candies and things like that. So my ice cream cart started to get larger, with more inventory.
Expansion.
Expansion, exactly. And with that expansion also came, I was meeting a lot of different people on the streets.
Yeah.
Started to evolve into even other things
like
as the next couple years went on, from 13, 14 to 15 and 16, when it really started business started to evolve and be a little bit different. Started to expand into other business types or other products or other items.
Okay. What are we talking like?
We're talking about ice cream, sodas, chips, drugs, whatever you want.
Okay, gotcha. So that kind of caught up with you a little bit as a young adult, teenager, got involved in that.
Yeah.
From there, what happened? What made you go from the shift of, being in that, grown up in that environment, being influenced by that, having experience in it yourself, and making the shift to where like, hey, this isn't what I want to do. I need to do something positive with my life. I want XYZ in my life to be accomplished. This is why I need to do this now.
I think the story goes kind of it's a long story that you also learn along the way. You're not learning overnight. You're not seeing it overnight. Sometimes as a younger adult or as a younger teen, we think we're invincible. Sometimes we think that nothing can happen to us. And I started to improvise and do things different, and I stayed in that industry for a little while. And I went from a very low level individual to a very resourceful individual for the higher level individuals. And that really in that business, it really catapulted me to the top of the food chain, technically, where I was very young, but I was dealing with the guys that were at the top of the food chain in the area or even other areas, and starting to do do different type of sales or different types of money making activities in that industry, where it started to evolve, and I started to see like, hey, those lower level activities, the guys that are on the streets that are selling small amounts of different things are the ones that usually get caught. And I didn't want to get caught.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get into trouble like that. I just like the business aspect of it. I've never had done drugs. I didn't do drugs. I didn't like drugs. I wasn't even interested. I was interested in the business side of it. And it was a business venture that they brought to me. So I eventually started to transition to different sectors of that industry and meeting different people, and started going up the food chain with that. And all of a sudden I started to see a lot of guys getting caught, getting busted, doing different things, even getting involved with the drugs, and going
ruining
on
their lives.
Yeah, going on the wrong path and really ruining their lives, like you said, and completely turning everything upside down. So the story transitions a little bit, where we started to I opened at 16. Caesar and I, one of my second cousins and I, we opened a stereo shop.
Okay.
We said, well, we like music, we like cars. We're gonna open a custom shop, and we're gonna customize vehicles, and we're gonna put these loud sound systems, and we're gonna do alarms. We're gonna do all this cool stuff.
The Pimp My Ride face.
Exactly. It was the West Coast car days, right? All that stuff. We're gonna do hydraulics, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do that. We love lowriders. We loved low trucks. We loved all that scene.
And that was the culture back then, right?
Completely.
Yeah.
Completely the culture. It's coming back right now a little bit, but it was a culture back there. Low riders, low trucks, airbags, hydraulics, loud sound systems, huge stereo systems. So we went along with it, and we opened up a shop, and we started selling at the swap meet on the weekends. And we were installing stereo systems. We were installing speakers. We were installing car alarms at the swap meet.
Okay.
We were doing these things at the swap meet. And it started to go kind of decent. I remember we initially asked a couple people around us to help us, or to even give us some loans and stuff, because I was trying to get away from bad stuff and trying to do better stuff, and try to transition and do different things. Unfortunately, it led me back into having to go make some quick money.
Yeah.
To be able to build up our legitimate business.
So that was because people wouldn't give you guys loans. So you're like, you know what? I'm not going to depend on other people. Let me just, like, I know how to go get some money. Let me make some cash.
We adjusted. We did get some money. We
Okay.
borrowed a little bit of money, but it wasn't enough to really get us going where we needed to go. So we went off and we started doing stuff again to try to make some quicker money in order to reinvest in our legitimate business. And there's a lot of guys out there that did things like that for many years, and that are very successful right now, that you would never imagine started out in an illegitimate bad business, and they were smart enough though to reinvest into a legitimate good business and actually start to do very well and get away from that lifestyle completely. And I'm somebody that did that early on in my life.
Yeah.
And it ended up initially, at least, working for us at the level that we thought was a decent level, which wasn't very much, honestly. It wasn't we weren't doing too well, but for us, coming from nothing, it was pretty well.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that story a lot, where, you know, people, they come from a bad environment. That's all they know. They get involved. Sometimes something usually happens in their life. Someone close to them passes away. They have a near death experience. They get locked up, and they come out, and they take those experiences or the rules of the streets or anything that they learn in that, and they apply it to like a legit business, and it actually surprises them, like, oh wow, this is what I can actually do if I apply those same principles into a legit business. What were some of those principles that you learned, or business strategies that you learned doing what you did, that you now apply, even what you do today, that is something you wish you would have learned without having to do that?
One of the biggest things that I said, and I talked about a little bit earlier, was that I was able to quickly be very resourceful.
Okay.
And when you are resourceful, other people need and want your resources. What does that mean for most of you guys? That means that because I was resourceful, because I was creative, because I was able to get things done, a lot of people looked for me. A lot of people went to me for help, for support, to join the team, to do all these different things. And luckily for me, most of the time, people that look for resources are guys that are doing really well, or guys that are higher level than yourself. So at an early age, I was able to be around the guys that were already very business mindset. It wasn't the guys on the street selling $20 of this or that or the other thing. It was the guys that were moving heavy loads of different things that they shouldn't be.
Right.
So their mindset is completely different than the guys on the streets. Their mindset is business, their mindset is making money, their mindset is setting up an operation, which is a business. So I was able to capture that at an early age and be able to structure my mindset so that anything I did was all around structuring business, structuring people, and be able to organize an entire operation.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I resonate with that, because when I first got involved in sales, business, marketing, one thing that I did was, like, I was always told, you're gonna, like you mentioned earlier, you're gonna become who you hang around. And if you hang around really successful people, you're probably gonna become successful. Maybe not as much as them, but you'll have a little taste. And that was my main goal, is how do I get around these people? They already have everything going for them that they have going on. How can I provide value? Even if it's one little thing. That was something that helped me. So yeah, I resonate with that a lot. You know, if someone owns $100 million of real estate, how can you add value to them and get a little bit of knowledge and get in their inner circle? Well, you're probably gonna have to put in some grunt work. You're probably gonna have to talk to, you know, a couple hundred people, find them a good deal that, yeah, you can make more money on, but give them the good deal so that now they see the value in you and they want to help you out now because you gave them something.
For sure. And a lot of times it doesn't happen the first time that you just do something with somebody. Like, you're not, you mentioned all these different businesses that I've had, or that I've run, or that I currently have. And a lot of people think it's luck, right? Or it happens overnight, or whatever it may be. But most of those businesses were not successful, just to tell you.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, most of those businesses are not, or were not successful. And I still have some of the ones that are not successful till today. I'm just lucky enough to have enough resources, enough money coming in from the good stuff that I did, that I'm able to maintain the businesses until they get to the point where they're good businesses.
Right.
One of the other big things is that a lot of people are afraid to let one business go because they get too passionately involved, or they feel they're too committed, or they put too much time, or they have too much ego around this certain business that is not a good business, or is not doing well. You need to be able to have enough self-control, enough direction in your life, enough smarts, if you want to call it that way, enough
letting that ego down,
enough of these to be able to allow yourself to let go, start fresh, and move forward with the next venture. That's one of the most important things that, as an entrepreneur, that you need to learn. You need to be able to figure out that not every business is successful. Not everything you do is gonna make you money. Not everything that you're gonna do is gonna be that one thing that changes your life. It might not be that business, but I guarantee you, if you keep going, it's gonna be one of them, at least one of them. So it happened overnight. He was lucky. All of these different things that a lot of entrepreneurs get, and I get that all the time myself too. It's like, I'm 42 now. I wasn't lucky.
Yeah.
I spent 42 years as an entrepreneur, most of those years not bringing in money and not being successful, but never stopping and being consistent is that one thing that changed for me and allowed a few of my businesses to be successful.
I like that. I do want to talk on some of the successful businesses, but first, why don't you share with us a couple of the businesses that you've had that, you know, you consider they weren't successful and they were a loss and you just had to kind of let it go? What were some of those businesses that you started, you were involved in, partnered, invested, that, you know, didn't go well?
I've had a lot of them. I'll just do one of the most recent ones because we just did a settlement out of court. But we put $1 million into a large cannabis operation, and the partners pretty much pushed us out. However you want to see it, doesn't matter at this point. turned unsuccessful for everybody, even the partners. And from $1 million, we only ended up collecting less than half. And that was a pretty big loss.
Yeah.
Because that was all hard-earned cash that we had sitting that we could have put into another business that we ended up, losing out on. But there's also other ventures that you need to just learn to let go of. And this was one of the things that business is one of the things that I learned to let go of and just keep moving on, and said, I'm wasting too much time and energy here. I need to go make money elsewhere because I already know I'm going to lose money there.
Yeah.
So now I need to go make up for it and even double up or triple up. And, we made a lot of money in different industries. Even a business that we started with a few of the guys that you guys know, we started doing crypto out of nothing and brought in millions, and we lost millions.
Yeah.
It was another unsuccessful venture at the end of the day, if you want to look at it that way. Even though we were able to cash out a very, very generous amount, but with that said, it was something that turned unsuccessful, and some of the times things turned unsuccessful because we become greedy.
Yeah.
We thought it was never going to end. We thought that it was never going to stop. Where everybody involved could have had millions right now. We could
Like real estate in 2008.
That's correct. Another venture that I can tell you about was a mini mart that we bought, a mini mart and a laundromat, and I'm going to call it unsuccessful, but it was successful. We ended up remodeling the building, purchased the building, remodeled the laundromat, started doing pretty well. We were making sales. My wife was 9 months pregnant. She was chasing guys out that were doing beer runs on us, and we decided that wasn't for us at the time.
Right.
And we ended up having to sell. Was it successful or not? We invested $200,000 into the remodel, into everything out of our pocket, and we ended up selling for $750. So.
And what was the purchase price roughly?
Free.
Okay.
Free. It was free. So were we successful? Yeah, we made money for a few months on revenue, and we also made $500,000 technically on it. So, but I would consider that as unsuccessful because we didn't figure it out. We didn't continue moving forward.
Yeah.
We just pulled out, said, hey, this is not for us. Or if you want to see it as we gave up. I don't think we gave up. We just, at the time, it wasn't for us, and we pivoted. Even though it was a really good business bringing in really good revenue, we still had enough sanity, we still had enough willpower, enough ego to say, you know what, this is not for us. We're going to take our losses, which really wasn't there, and we're going to move on to something else.
You're losing future profit potential revenue.
Correct. And we moved on.
Yeah.
We moved on.
Yeah, I like that. I want to get into some real estate stuff. A lot of people know you as the real estate guy as much as they know you for everything else. I think that's one of the main things.
Yep.
You've bought a lot of real estate, sold a lot of real estate, helped people buy and sell a lot of real estate, flipped homes. You still own a lot of real estate, still actively buying a lot of real estate. I want to get into that. There's one story that I love. Every time I hear it, I want to, if you could share that with everyone about you were finding deals for someone. People were, shit.
I remember.
Let me rewind. I just don't like the phrasing I was using. You were bringing deals to someone who was mentoring you at the time in real estate when you first got started. You started to realize, hey, I could do this. How did you do your first deal in real estate? Tell us that story.
Okay, I think the part that you like that I've told you before on the story was I did have a mentor and another real estate broker locally that I was bringing deals to at the time. And I had already brought him, I think, 2 or 3 deals, and he was making hundreds of thousands of dollars on these deals.
And you guys had an arrangement or a deal on just a handshake that he didn't agree to. Yeah,
so I had already brought him a few deals, a few $100,000 he's already made, and I went and talked to him. I told him, hey, blank, I'm not going to say his name. Do you think that sooner or later I can also buy my own flip to make more money? Would you be willing to help me? He said, no problem, David. You bring me 5 more flips, and the 6th, I'm going to fund you. I'm going to help you with the funding for the property. So I was happy-go-lucky, said, all right, I need to bring him 5 more deals. And for me at the time, it was very easy because I was getting 10, 15 deals a month.
Right.
Technically.
This is 07, 08?
No, this is already 08, 09.
09, okay. So, and
2008, 2009.
And you had kind of found your little niche market of like short sales and stuff like that,
I
right?
sure did. I had 40, 50 short sales listed at one point, at a time technically, and I had hundreds of loan modifications. I was helping people to try to save their homes and modify them and get them a better payment so they didn't have to lose it. So from that, also brought deals that didn't make sense for people and they didn't want to keep the home. So at the time they were called short sales, and I had tons of them listed, and I was giving them to a couple different guys, but this one guy in particular that I was giving them to, he said, bring me 5 more, David, and the 6th one, I'm going to help you. I'm going to fund you. I was super excited. I was pumped. I'm like, my goodness, I'm making money right now from revenue, but I also have expenses, right? I also have a family. So I had bills. So even though I was making good money in real estate, selling real estate, making extra money is always where you want to be at in real estate. So also think of yourself as a client. You can't just think of yourself as a real estate professional, house buyers and sellers. You also got to think about yourself as a client, because if you're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 deals a month in real estate and you're making $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a month, a lot of us have a lot of expenses. So the money you're making on your daily deals with buyers and sellers goes to your expenses. So you always need to say, okay, where else can I bring in money? Can I bring in cash flow? And one of those places is flips. So I said, my goodness, if I make $75,000 on one flip that this guy's going to help me with, that's $75,000 extra of the income that I'm already making. All I have to do is do another 6 of those a year, 5 of those a year, and I make an extra $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. That's going to change my life, right?
Yeah.
That's going to change the things that I'm able to do for my family, the investments I'm able to make. That's just going to take me totally to another level. So I was super excited, and I sent him deal number 5, and then deal number 6 comes along, and I tell him, hey, so-and-so, this is deal number 6. I was super excited. I said, here it is, deal number 6. And he's like, great. How much can I buy it for? And I was like, no. You think you misunderstood me. This is deal number 6.
Yeah.
My deal, right? I told him, remember you said that I bring you 5 deals and the 6th one that you're going to help me and you're going to fund me. And he said, oh, I can't do that right now. My money's all tied up. So I shut the hell up, got my booty up, walked out of there, disappointed, upset, whatever it may be. And I said, all right. And then I had a good friend of mine now that I met through one of my wife's friends, a family member of theirs, and he shows up to the office and I'm talking to him about real estate. He's talking about buying, selling, doing a few different things. And I don't know, the conversation, he asked about investments and real estate. So we were just talking about it. And I told him, yeah. And I kind of told him the story. And I told him, man, I have this deal and this guy was supposed to help me with the 6. And I was more just venting actually at the time. And he's like, yeah, shit, that sucks, this, that, the other. He's like, how much do you need, or what is it? I'm like, probably 80 or 100 grand to be able to buy it, to get the funding, and then to be able to rehab it, whatever it may be. Cool. Yeah, that sucks. Okay, whatever. And then he ended up leaving. A few hours later, he shows back up to my office and he had this little shoebox, Nike shoebox. He shows up and he puts it on the desk, and I'm like, bought me some shoes or what the heck? We're not that good of friends where you know my shoe size. You're going to bring me some shoes and you know which kind I like. You know what I mean? So he shows up with the shoebox and he goes, that's for the investment. What? I open it up and it's 100 grand in cash. Make it happen, David.
That's where knowing the people from the neighborhood helped out.
It sure did.
Gave you a little jump start.
It sure did. He said, make it happen. And I go, holy smokes. Are you serious, Mondo? He's like, make it happen. No questions asked, no documents signed, no bull, nothing.
No attorneys, no long contracts.
Just our word. Let's do it.
And you flipped that 6 property, made money?
6 property. I think on that one, I don't remember exactly. I think I made like 60 or 70 grand. After I gave him his money and gave him a nugget on top. And that was really the very first thing that helped me go from being a successful real estate agent to now being extremely successful real estate agent with other cash flow revenue coming in from other areas of real estate.
That's good. I like that. I think one thing that helped you become successful, and maybe you can agree or disagree, is that you weren't just a real estate agent working with buyers and sellers. You're a real estate agent who went and did your own deals for yourself. So now you're putting yourself as a real estate agent in the actual shoes physically of a client because you became your own client.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that I think a lot of people always come to me and talk to me, because I'm not just a real estate agent and trying to sell them a property. I'm an investor. I'm a business guy. Like, I have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience as well. As my son says when he points out my gray hairs now. And you know, it's wisdom, and wisdom is just experience and knowledge and all the different things that have happened to me throughout my life. And I think they, especially the higher level businessmen and women in our local community, come to me because I don't think they can relate with a lot of the other real estate agents out there that just don't have all this other experience or knowledge, and that's the reality. And I can sit there and talk to them about their business and maybe even give tips and tricks and ideas and suggestions on how to improve it or do better, or I can even relate to them when they tell me about their employees and the issues they're having. It's totally different when you're working somebody with somebody like that than with somebody that is just chasing that commission check, right? I build relationships with these people, and I think that's why some of the most successful local real estate investors or businessmen actually come to me and seek my help or my advice or some of my time, is because they know that I have a lot of the experience that they have as well, and they can relate to me, and they know that all of my experience equals hopefully better decisions for not only myself, but for the moves that they're making in real estate.
I like that. So we've talked a little bit about your struggles. Let's talk about some success. We're going to do some rapid fire. Plus or minus, how many properties have you bought, flipped, and sold yourself personally?
300.
300? Okay.
Just myself.
Okay. How many?
Probably more, actually. Think about it.
How many?
Shoot. More than 300 probably is what I'm calculating right now in my head after I said that. I'm like, no.
And that's over the last 20 plus or minus years?
The last 15, 17 years.
15, 17 years. Okay. So that's personal fix and flips. How many deals have you done as a real estate agent / broker? Whether you're partnered on it, help someone, buy or sell, how many deals have you done?
At least 1,000.
At least 1,000 deals. Okay. How many different businesses have you owned, partnered, worked on?
50.
50. Give us a.
Who's successful?
Well, that's what they say. I talk to startup founders, and they say, especially investors into startups, they're like, hey, I know I'm going to invest in 10 different businesses. 9 are going to be complete flops, but 1's going to be the home run that makes up for the other 10.
For sure.
Give us a different variety of what those different 50 businesses are, plus or minus whatever they were. Industries.
I've owned restaurants, the food industry, hospitality industry, entertainment industry, obviously real estate, cannabis, even online casino, software, CRMs, marketing agencies. I think you name it. I'm almost been in
construction.
Construction, obviously, that I'm still in. Probably one of the only industries I haven't really been involved too much is manufacturing, or actually manufacturing as well. Yeah. Manufacturing as well as agriculture, like straightforward agricultural.
I want to get in the story. We're getting a little low on time, but I know a different venture in real estate you did was software. You exited a software company with a couple partners. You guys successfully sold it back, prior to really even real estate lead generation being a thing. What was that exit like? How much did you exit for, plus or minus?
Unfortunately, not enough, but we exited with right at a 7-figure number. And funny enough, we exited too soon. 2 years later, the group that bought it, which was a large group that we didn't know exactly who they were, ended up exiting for $25 million.
So you guys sold for about $1 million. 2 years later, they sold for $25 million.
Correct.
I know that's one reason why you love still working on software stuff.
Yep.
What ballpark, plus or minus, construction, concrete, landscaping, pools, backyards, all that stuff, plus or minus, just in construction, not house flipping, what do you guys do roughly a year in revenue, gross revenue?
8 figures at least.
About plus or minus 10 million?
Yeah.
Okay. How big is your real estate portfolio right now? How many doors and...
Well, as you know, Jordan, I told you I was going to get to 100 doors. I'm not at 100 doors just yet. that we own, but probably close to a $20 million portfolio.
20 million. And then how many doors plus or minus is that?
I was just doing the math this morning. I think we're almost at 80, 70 something.
70 something doors over, and you've accumulated those over the last 20 years or so.
The last 15 years.
15 years. Okay. You also mentioned you guys have done, you and your wife have done the ATM business.
Well, she does it, but
She does it. You help out
I
a little bit.
assisted.
You help out.
I pushed her to start it.
Okay. I like that. And then how many ATMs do you guys have en route roughly?
She has a fair amount. I honestly don't know exact amount, but she holds her own, and sure, her ego has sure grown a little bit with her income coming in for sure.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Let's do this. Best advice you would give to yourself, your children, or a stranger that's been through something similar or is going through something that you've been through. What's the best piece of advice you would give them, in overcoming those odds?
Enjoy the good, the bad, and the ugly. Enjoy it. Go with the flow. Grow with it. Take all those different things and all the experiences that you're going through, the bad, the good, the horrible, and grow from it for sure. Learn from it, grow from it, and keep moving forward.
I like that.
Be consistent, 100% consistent. If you keep moving forward and you're consistent, the world is your oyster.
I like that. That's good. And where can people find you on social media?
They can go to Real David Albanese on IG, or TikTok is Think Big, Work Small. Or you can just Google my name, David Albanese. I'll come up and
all the different press releases.
Yeah,
I like that. That's good. They can talk to you anything: crypto, real estate, construction, business, family, life.
I'll let you know if I was successful with it or not, and I'll give you my opinion of it, and I'll give you the best advice that I can with it. I don't have an issue with that. I'll tell you the good, bad, and the ugly that I learned. And sometimes you'll take it and run with it, or sometimes you'll say, I like this, but I don't like that, and you'll turn it into your own little venture.
I think it's the Real David Albanese on Instagram, because you always keep it real.
There it is.
I like that. Last question. Who is someone that you think would provide a ton of value on this podcast that we should have on?
I think you should have on a couple other local guys from this area, just because you're from this area as well. Maybe some of the older gentlemen that own maybe some of the radio stations, that maybe the Hispanic local guys. A lot of Hispanics in this area that are doing really well with agriculture. I think the experience that a lot of those guys have, that's not your typical just influencer, popular guy. The experience that you're going to gain and the interview that you'll have on your podcast with some of these guys are really, really, really going to resonate with a lot of people that are going to watch.
I agree. I think that for two reasons. One, you mentioned that they have a different perspective most people don't see. And number two, a lot of people don't know how well a lot of these guys actually do just because they're not driving Lambos and wearing Rolexes.
I can guarantee you that I didn't know, and they live very modestly like myself, and I didn't realize or understand the level of success that some of these guys have had.
Awesome. I agree. Well, you guys, that's it for today's episode with David Albanese on Overcoming the Odds, and we look forward to seeing you on the next show. Have a good one.